Like I said, he always had his medicals in London, even when he was not in office. So it was not about the time he was president alone. He had always had it in London. And then you have to be alive first to get certain things changed or corrected in your country. If he had said, I'll do my medicals in Nigeria just as a show-off or something, he could have long been dead, because there may not be the expertise needed in the country. But he needed to be alive to be able to lead the country to a point where we will have that expertise. So those who glibly talk of going abroad, they don't know that a man needs to be alive first before he can effect a change.
Interesting perspective there, although debatable, Mr. Adesina. But we'll leave that. We'll leave that and talk to something that I'd like you to speak something that is within our own purview as pressmen. And there was, of course, in fact, a huge question mark on the disposition of late former President Muhammadu Buhari towards dissent, and of course journalism that, you know, bore negatively on the outlook of the administration. We recall how a reporter of one of the mainstream platforms was expelled from the villa, and from then on, the acronym General was ascribed to the late former president henceforth in their reportage. How does this for you come through, bearing in mind that it contrasts with the outlook of Mr. President, late Muhammadu Buhari, as a man, you know, of integrity, a man, you know, that you even in fact talk about as being a friend, even beyond being a boss?
Yes, you need to know the antecedents of President Buhari and the media. There was a 2.8 billion naira scandal, supposedly, when he was oil minister in the 70s. Without hearing from him, without seeking the truth, the media went to town and carried that 2.8 billion was missing under his watch. For a man who valued integrity, for a man who valued accountability, it hurt most deeply, most deeply. Later, he told me, under his administration as a civilian president, that he parted ways with the media from that time. And that was why most times you didn't see him engaging with the media. He preferred to do his own thing and left us who managed his public image and his media to deal with the media. Talking of a reporter being expelled from the villa, you will recall that immediately that the villa, for instance, is a high security place. It's a high security place. I used to tell the journalists covering the media that know where you are covering. Principally, this is a security place. So be careful. But there was that particular reporter who kept fishing out negatives from the villa, from a high security place. The president was indisposed there. The security people expelled that reporter. But then immediately I heard that, I countered it. I said it was not due to the security people to just expel a journalist when there was somebody who headed the media and you didn't consult him. Immediately, I did a tweet and I said it was not proper to have expelled him without consulting the media department. Later, that expulsion was rescinded, but the reporter feared for his life and refused to show up again. Also recall that when we got into government in 2015, a reporter had been expelled by the Jonathan administration, Ubale of Deutsche Welle. What was the first thing we did when we got to the villa? We recalled him, because President Buhari was not ready to be at loggerheads with the media. He was recalled. So that showed you already that even though he was not paddy-paddy or chummy-chummy with the media, he was not also ready to be at war with them. The day he reported at the State House, you know, when he resumed office, he used to use Defense House because the villa was being renovated. The very day he resumed at the villa, I went to meet him, come and greet the media in the place they use. He followed me, he came. And for about 1 hour, he engaged with the media, got them to introduce themselves one after the other, made comments. I remember when the reporter of The Sun introduced himself, he said, "What your cartoonist? What your cartoonist? The way he draws my chin is not as long as that." So he just had a very good time with the media that day. He had his reservations about the media. He kept away from them as much as possible, but he was not antagonistic towards them.
It's a lot. I remember being summoned as well, even under that government with my colleagues. So for journalists, we have a lot to tell about the experience, but it's interesting to hear your perspective on that one. You were a friend to him, as you say. And again, that's different from how a lot of people will see him or imagine he is from outside. They see that general, no-nonsense person. You don't come 10 meters within, you know, my radius. But for you, it's quite different. I don't know if you remember your last encounter with him, and perhaps did he have regrets that he shared with you about Nigeria, maybe personal life and all?
No. My last encounter with him, in February, he moved to Kaduna. He had always lived in Kaduna. Daura in Katsina State was his traditional homestead, but he had always lived in Kaduna. By the time he left government in May 2023, the house in Kaduna was disused because nobody had used it for 8 years. So the house was put up for renovation. And then he went to stay in Daura for more than a year. In February this year, the house was ready. And then he moved from Daura to Kaduna. So in March, I decided to visit him in Kaduna for the first time. I had always visited him in Daura. I made sure once in a quarter, as difficult as it was to access Daura, every quarter I visited him. So I then went to visit him in Kaduna to say, welcome to Kaduna. I met him reading newspapers. In fact, almost all the newspapers in the country were spread on the table before him. He was reading one. And when I came in, you know, the president had this winsome smile. When you are his friend and he smiles at you, he's so winsome. So he had that winsome smile and he rose up to greet me. When we sat there, I said, "Mr. President, how are you?" He said, "Very well. I'm very well. I've left the troubles of Nigeria, so I'm okay." And we laughed. We then talked about other things. We talked about insecurity. He asked about my family. We discussed generally, and I stayed with him that day and the next day. The following week, or a week and a half, he then traveled for routine medical attention. He walked on his feet into the plane. I saw the footage of it when he was traveling. And then somewhere along the line, some things showed up in his medicals, which he never recovered from. He had been in ICU about 3-4 weeks ago. That was when there was trepidation. We had fears there. But later, he was discharged from ICU to the regular ward, and we felt relieved. But finally, he didn't make it.
And may his soul rest in peace. And of course, you know that late Mr. President's health had also been a subject of public discourse even during his administration. But it appears now that the ship has sailed on this one, but certainly not on his contributions to service to Nigeria. And for that, We remember him and we thank him for his service, and we thank you, for coming through on this conversation to honor late Muhammadu Buhari. We've been talking with the former special advisor on media and publicity to former President late Muhammadu Buhari, Mr. Femi Adesina. Thank you so much for your time on this one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course, we'll remain with all of the issues and, of course, return to Daura as soon as, they beckon on us to do that. All of the members of the Federal Executive Council, political associates, and, of course, appointed officials are in Daura now, waiting to participate in the lineup of activities for the burial of late former president. The aircraft is airborne, as we told you earlier on. We'll take a moment now. When we return, we'll show you something else that one of his aides at that time recorded, the last moment of Muhammadu Buhari as president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria when he exited the villa for the last time. We'll bring that to you after this time out. Stay with us.